25-24. The Doggies went down to the Roosters after looking sharp enough early. It was the Teddy show, Barn.
We had 4 tries apiece, 4 out of 4 conversions for both teams. A missed penalty goal for the Roosters, 1 out of 1 field goal attempts for the Roosters, and a missed 2-point field goal attempt for the Bulldogs. 77% completion played, 82%, 4 line breaks to 2, 37 tackle busts to 19, 7 offloads to 5, 2 forced dropouts to 1, 347 tackles played, 293, 10 errors to 9, 7 penalties conceded to 6. Tedesco with 118 Supercoach points, Josh Adokar with 86, and Suali'i with 78. Absolute heartbreaker for the Bulldogs. I think they did so many things right in this game and ended up losing by a point. First 15 minutes was all the Bulldogs. And I started to feel like it might be a bit of the beginning of the end for the Roosters. They looked completely flat, completely dishevelled, and had no idea how to get back out of what was going on. The Dogs were just carving them down that left-hand side with Josh Adokar and put Mahoney away for a try. Some really nice slick passing a couple of times. And, yeah, the Dogs were just doing everything right for that first 15, 20 minutes. Then there was a couple of poor defensive efforts, realistically. Tedesco did all the right things, being in the right positions and backing up, and in the second half did some really nice footwork to get through some holes and put somebody else away for a try. But a lot of it came off the back of a couple of poor one-on-one efforts from the Bulldogs, I thought. I feel like slides through the defence, and that was a one-on-one miss, and then Tedesco backs up the score. Similar thing on the right-hand side for Tedesco's second try as well. So
I feel like they were the best Bulldogs they could be.
Pretty close to it.
I don't want to sound patronising, but I feel like they came here and performed to the best of their ability, and they got beaten by the best fullback we've seen in 20 years. As simple as that.
That was perfect support play, man, from Teddy to score his double. And as I mentioned, a lovely run to set one up as well. And he was a complete and utter difference between these two sides. Josh Adokar did everything he could in combining with Burton to score a couple of tries and set one up as well.
How good was his putting Reed over and then running next to Reed, just going, yeah, you're going to score, boy.
The only thing that would have been better if he was slapping him on the arse as he was running in to score the try.
I loved it. How can you not love the Fox? That was outstanding. He was, I don't want to say every bit as good as Teddy, but on the back up again, there was a bit more time to the Sunday, but I thought for an individual winger performance, this was up there with as good as we've seen this year.
Amazing what happens when they pass him the ball with a bit of space.
That's true as well.
Which New South Wales just seemed to refuse to do on the Wednesday. But
sort of a couple of key talking points, because the biggest talking point for me is this Bulldogs team's had no middle most of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And this red-hot, spruiked Roosters forward pack couldn't really match
didn't
him
roll
or
over
outpower
him.
him.
No.
I'm now starting to feel that this is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
we've seen it. They're exposed. We know what they're getting. When Nathan Brown came in and was their best player last week, he wasn't particularly fantastic in this game.
Still wasn't bad.
He's fine. He's fine. Yeah. Angus Crichton only played half hour. I don't quite know where he's at. He doesn't feel like he's knocking the Origin door down. They're just a team. They just
without
feel like
Tedesco,
a team.
I think they get comfortably beaten.
They don't
in this
get.
game.
Well, I don't think they score a point.
They probably lose by 10 to 16 points. And there was also in the forward pass call where Avarillo was down the right hand side.
Actually, that was, and if that was a top 4 team, it doesn't get called. No. But the only reason it looked bad is because he was 3 metres behind the bloke. He does score. He doesn't get touched.
Oh, there was one player coming across in cover, but that killed off any of their chances at the back end of this game for the Dogs to win. Reed's HIA really hurt them because he was very good in what they were doing in the middle of the field. Yeah. Just that really quick service and getting the forwards to roll on through the middle, and they were matching the Roosters forwards, if not better, in them for the first 30 minutes or so until Reed did end up going off. Harrison Edwards did a bit of a job, coming in to play 9, but you could see the service was completely different, and that roll on that they had early just wasn't there. The passes are a bit slower off the ground, and just, you don't get the guys rolling onto the footy the way that they were earlier. I thought Waddell and Ockenball were pretty good. Ockenball, I think we mentioned it when he first came on the scene. He's going to end up being a back rower, and it looks like that's his spot now. Defence has still got a bit to work on, but yeah, he's been much better. Davida Pengai Jr. and Preston were probably the best of the forwards for the Bulldogs. They were very good. Alamotti was decent. But yeah, Burton and Fox were the two most creative players and created the most opportunity for the Bulldogs.
Absolutely.
Where else you go from there? You go to the Roosters, and you'd have to say Brown was decent, and Collins and, Warrior Hargraves did a job. They weren't good by any means, but they weren't bad.
But when a forward pack of this supposed calibre, not a single one of them cracks 100 metres apart
Lodge
from
in his
Jared.
20 minutes was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, Lodge came on and made a really big impact in his 20. He was only on there for 20 minutes and probably deserves now to be in the reckoning for 40 or 50 minutes a game. He needs to be coming back in and being that number one front rower, I think, for this team, alongside Jared. But it's hard because you've got Collins in that rotation as well. But between the three of them, they should be all pumping out 40 to 50 minutes and
They're
doing,
now not
doing
missing
their
out
best.
obvious, are they?
Not particularly.
Trying to
We just,
apart from Radley and Cheese, they're not missing any forward oomph there.
Turpin had a really good game, I thought. And so did Egan Butcher. Suali'i and Ponga were good. A little bit hit and miss, though. They made a couple of errors and a few poor
Back to a wing
reads.
is where he should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
And more power to the kid. He's 20. He's about to go and earn lots and lots of money for standing on a wing. Good luck.
Keary was great. Field goal, obviously, hit it extremely well when time came for him to do it. And, yeah, it was a Teddy show. You already said it.
Well, just how good he was. Like, to bounce off the criticism he copped, which he wasn't particularly bad on Saturday.
No. But how many times did you see him get caught in the corner? How many times did you see him crab across the field? You didn't.
Yeah.
And he basically came out in the press conference afterwards and said it. So I need to go back and be in that reactive player, the guy that's there for the ball that pops up, the guy that's there for the kick that gets trapped and is rolling around on the ground. I'm the guy that needs to be directly focusing on the football
Rather
and
than
running
captain
straight
sides
lines. And
if they had,
what
it's
he
almost
did.
to the point where he's almost that guy now. If they had a guy you could trust as captain, like if you knew, and
Cooper
maybe,
Cronk? Or-
like even a kid, like just say, look, here's a captaincy. It's not a step back. You do you, I'll do me. Don't have to worry about that. Like if it's probably a Kiri or a Manu or someone, but I was going to say Crichton. If probably not, you won't see
not
like
at the
going,
moment.
but it's maybe that's that time. Hand it on. Or, in a perfect world, you have a young bloke there and you can mentor him for a year or two. But
he was so direct and so focused on his on the way he needed to play this football game, and at the end of the day, he was the only reason that the Roosters won.
And it is a good partner in crime to have when they're both playing direct. Is Kiri, because he'll take to the line, he'll open up that half a hole, and as we know, Ted needs half a hole. His kicking game was good, as you asked. You've covered everything with him. Look, I'm not scared of playing them. You wouldn't be scared of playing them anytime soon, just yet, either team. But they probably, at one point, was a fair enough margin. And if it had gone the other way, you'd say it's a fair enough result. And that's a big knock on
from a team
the
that
premiership
was
favourites.
Lauded as premiership favourites at the start of the year, and now look like a team that's more than likely going to run 12th. So
3 points to Teddy.
Yep.
2 points to Fox.
Yep.
And I'd Kiri, Preston, or TPJ for the one.
I think you got to chuck Burton in there as well. I thought he was a big part of what the Bulldogs did in their attack, but I think Kiri probably gets the one.
I'm fine with that, yeah. 45. We didn't quite see this one coming. 45-20. The Cowboys over the Storm. The second highest score a Bellamy coach team has ever conceded. What'd the stats say? And we'll get into it.
Yeah, we had 8 tries to 3, 6 out of 8 conversions, played 3 out of 3, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for the Storm, 1 out of 1 field goal attempts for the Cowboys, 441 plus running metres for the Cowboys, 82% completion for them and 78% for the Storm. 8 line breaks to 4, 49 tackle busts for the Cowboys. Played 29 for the Storm, 6 offloads from both teams, 2 forced dropout for the Cowboys, 252 tackles, played 345 7 errors to 11, 6 penalties conceded to 5, 2 ruck infringements against the Storm, 1 inside the 10 against the Cowboys. Val Holmes with 150 Supercoach points, Sammy Valame with 114, and then you had Hiku and Drinkwater both on 104. You also had one other Cowboy before you got down to the first Storm player, which was Nick Meaney on 86.
Well, what a comeback from where they were a couple of weeks ago. To come out last week and be more than competitive, and then to come here getting some troops
Their
back
last
as well.
3 games have been pretty good, the Cowboys.
Well, not the one 3 weeks ago where they lost by 60, but the other 2 were good. They
had
pushed
a win
Para.
and
They
then
bit of luck. They
pushed
probably
Para.
beat Para, and they did have the win. Sorry.
Yeah,
And then
the
here,
week before
so
that they got
are
stomped.
things back on track?
It's looking a lot better. A lot more focused on their running game, which is the biggest part of their game, where they basically go straight into the defensive line and then work off the back of that. The thing with this competition is 3 wins. You put 3 back-to-back wins together. Any team in the comp goes from basically like you put 3 wins on the Dragons tally, and they're sniffing around the bottom of the 8. So
Yeah.
they're the team that's currently running last. So it's been so tight and turbulent through the entirety of the competition that it's just so close now that anything could realistically happen between now and the end of the season. But I really enjoy watching Melbourne get beaten. I don't think I derive more enjoyment out of watching any other team in the comp get beaten, to be honest. And the best thing about it's fucking bellyache. I love watching it.
He's angry for about 12 points, and then he sits there like this and just like stares morosely.
But you can still see his head
a dog
exploding.
that's-
Like there's
Oh,
just
yeah,
like
yeah,
water
absolutely.
boiling out of the top of the pot
Yeah.
while he's sitting there watching it. Even if he's stone faced, you know he's just absolutely boiling inside. And yeah, I just get so much joy. And they weren't just beaten; they were comfortably and they completely controlled for the majority of
Yeah.
the game in this one.
And
It was-
didn't really have an answer. There was no one that. There was no one able to kick out of trouble, or no one able. There was just no answer. It was like, oh, here we are.
Yep, every aspect of the game went the Cowboys' way. Melbourne sort of fought back maybe twice in the game for about a 10 or 15 minute period. There was a couple of tries there through Xavier Coates and Olam in the first half, and then a beautiful chip and chase from Nick Meaney in the second half, which is a piece of individual brilliance that really sort of got them back into a position where they could have maybe fought back a little bit, but yeah, the Cowboys were just well and truly on top. They targeted their halves. They went straight at Munster, they went straight at Hughes, and they went back in behind the ruck at Harry Grant as well. And I think you'll notice they all missed 5 or 6 tackles. They really went out of their way to break open those guys, and it's even if they weren't missing tackles, they were drawing in defenders and creating space on the outside for the likes of Val Holmes and Peter Hiku to have an absolute field day at the back end of this game. They played really quick, up-tempo footy and really direct, running straight at defenders, making them make decisions, and then, that was basically the outcome of this game, I thought. Melbourne just were making the wrong decisions when they were getting drawn into blokes running directly at them at pace, sort of getting caught on inside and outside shoulders, and the Cowboys jumped on the back of that and scored a shit ton of points. Coates, Hughes and Grant were decent for the Storm. Welsh and Liero were good, I thought. You could probably add Katoa to that as well. They did a job in the back row, but they well and truly outplayed. Munster was pretty strong. You know, he got involved at times, but only when they were on the front foot. Never really did anything off the back foot. And Meaney was their best player by a mile for the Storm. Just chimes in perfectly for them.
They just have this. They have this ability to feel. It's particularly the edges and their edge forwards. When they're not playing well, they're so exposed. They feel so exposed, and when they are playing well, they seem to come
just
together. But
seem to get
the same time
caught
last
on the back
year, the
foot
same thing
and-
happened, and
yeah.
they just looked like they couldn't beat. Couldn't blow out a candle. And I wonder if we're about to hit
Origin
that here.
probably doesn't help with them,
Oh, of
obviously. But the back five for the Cowboys were brilliant. They caused no end of problems for the Storm. Cotter and Neem were good. Cotter was especially good coming back off, a man of the match performance for the Queensland side. Nanai and Lukey were really good on the edges. They exposed the halves
It was Nano's
extremely
best
well.
game all year off a break there.
Robson was fucking awesome. Like, he was creating all sorts of problems, as I mentioned, when they targeted in behind the marker defence. He was breaking them open at will at times. Drinkwater, you could add him in there as well. His creative play was one of their better. He's more creative than both their halves combined, realistically, because he's the guy at the front line drawing defenders and putting guys away. And
which is fine when every piece is working, because Townsend then does his job. And Dean just becomes a runner.
Has a little snipe here and there.
And it's fine when it all works. When it doesn't work, it looks pretty ugly.
But they got early ball out to Holmes and Tuolangi.
Yeah.
And they absolutely terrorised that side.
He did unto them what Stafford did to him. So he came here off the back of that, and he looked fast, he looked sharp.
Turn blokes inside out. He was running at guys, and even 5 metres before, they were trying to read which way he was going to go, because they didn't know. They knew they had to be on him as close as they could, because if they didn't get near him, he was just going to breeze past them, and he did that time and time again. Put Tuolangi away for a couple of tries, scored one himself. He was easily the standout performance of the weekend. Him and Sean Johnson are the two standout performances this weekend. So he got my 3 points. But
his old mate on the other side, Peter Hiku, had a good game too.
Absolutely. Put Valame away for a couple of tries. And how's that for a return?
Valame, I was going to say.
Another one that Canberra got rid of, hasn't played for a year. Comes back into a Cowboys system and scores a hat-trick.
That Canberra system must be its own, it's literally its own ecosystem. You're either in Vicky and life's lovely, or you're just get the fuck out of there as quick as you can.
Yeah. And 2 of the tries he scored, he actually had to do a fair bit of work for.
And took blokes with him.
That's why I gave him the 2. And then I either had Drinkwater or Tuolangi for the. Oh, you got to throw Meany in there as well. But between those 3, I had
you don't get beat by 30. Drinkwater. No. Okay. Point. Is it Panic Stations Melbourne, or we just pen it? They've now got the Sharks this week.
It is a bit of a panic, to be honest, because
they've
the next 3
Tigers
weeks
without their rep
Origin.
players. Yeah. So you can have Peze, Meany in the halves, and probably the young fella.
Oh, Hughes will still be there.
Oh, Hughes will still be there. Sorry, Then they got the Seagulls, who knows, and then the Panthers. So they could legit lose. And then the Chooks they'll beat.
But yeah, Munster and Grant
they
are
could lose for
massive
next
outs.
month. So, very interesting.
If they drop 2 out of the next 4, it really does start to become a scramble.
Cowboys hit Penrith, Parrot, Tigers for the next 3 weeks. That's Tigers will be on the
other side of Origin.
Back up of Origin. So that's an interesting one. So having been beat by 60, but you'd think it'd be a different team.
Yeah, you would think so.
Super interesting next month ahead. Let's wrap it up though with 26-18.
Sorry, we gave the points. No, we did
Val
the points.
3. If we didn't, I don't think we clarified that.
Valame 2, and then we went with
Drinkwater for 1.
Drinkwater for 1. Yeah.
26-18. Penrith took forever to shake off the Dragons. It was when you back something, get $1.50, and it's never going to lose, but just can't shake them off and wins by a
Things
head.
are coming from everywhere.
She probably didn't know that, because they did look like losing for points here. But the big story was they lost Cleary. What did the stats say?
They looked good before Cleary came off. Let's be honest. They looked like they were just going to decimate the Dragons until Cleary came off the field.
It just makes Jerome Luai's running in circles more entertaining when Cleary's not there to help him out of it.
Panthers 26, Dragons 18. 4 tries to 3. 3 out of 4 conversions, played 1 out of 3 for the Dragons. 2 out of 2 penalty attempts for both teams. 86% completion, played 75%. 105 plus running metres for Penrith. 3 line breaks to 4. 25 tackle busts. 25 tackle busts, played 34. 8 offloads to 9. 1 forced dropout from both teams. 338 tackles, played 356. 7 errors to 10. Both teams gave away 6 penalties. 4 ruck infringements against Penrith, 1 against the Dragons. 1 inside the 10 for the Dragons. Ravalawa with 96 Supercoach points. Brian To'o with 85. Isaiah Yeo with 83.
Once again, it was the key points here. The 2 you just mentioned, Yeo and Bizza on the back up again. They had till the Sunday night. They were absolutely sensational.
200 metres again.
Those 2 were probably the difference at the end of the day, I would suggest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeo's footwork through the middle, everything you get from Yeo. Standard Yeo, absolute peak Yeo. Dragged him when he needed to get dragged, played the ball when he needed to get played, and
came up with the match-winning play with the offload. Put the big fella away, the front rower, just to score the last try of the game. But really tough game. Probably one of the Dragons' better performances of the year, I thought. Yeah, Cleary, as you mentioned, is a big problem for both the Dragons and New South Wales.
And Penrith as well.
Really stunted their attack for probably 25, 30 minutes. They did not seem to have any idea what to do for the next 20 to 30 minutes. Cogger did sort of pull them out of a hole. I thought he was quite good actually coming in.
There's something, like, you've got to give credit to the Penrith system in that you see with O'Sullivan, you saw a bit of Cogger here, is once everyone works it out and gets back to the flow, they don't miss a lot of beats.
They're basically like, the kicks are going to be a bit shallower. The running
game's
not going to be as much. But
I was disappointed in, and I don't, there's going to be Penrith fans, we know who they are, going to write in, but I was disappointed I didn't try and take more charge because at the time it happened,
absolutely.
they were on top and they could have really put the sword down.
Well, Cogger still ended up being the dominant half by the end of the game.
And that was the perfect time for Law. He only had to put on a right foot step and put someone over the line. Everyone shuts up, the game's over. He can look like a world beater. You can probably go off because they scored 2 more. But he almost shied away from it.
Well, they stopped taking risks in attack, like altogether. They just went, we're going to just shut this down and play through the middle of the field, which was to their detriment, really, because the Dragons were still pretty intent on trying to get the ball wide and to do a few different things in the middle of the field. And they got in front and probably should have gone on with the game, but for whatever reason, it didn't seem to happen. Ravalawa with a couple of really strong tries. Like, it wasn't just catch and fall over stuff. It was bashing through guys and taking guys with him. I thought there was 2 beautiful efforts there. Then a couple of really nice kicks. One for Toto off Cogger where he just runs in untouched, and Lomax with a beautiful jump over the top of, I think it was Crichton at the time, and to grab the ball and score. But, it was really tough, good performance. Both teams displayed a bit of skill at different times in this game.
You also mentioned that Dragons were cruel because why did Little spend... Did he get HIA?
Yeah.
Because he ended up coming back on, but he spent too much time off the field.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they lost to Bellin. It's a more interesting game, and I thought they... Like I said about the Bulldogs, they were the best Dragons they could be in this game.
No, absolutely. They were very good. Bit of brilliance from Isaiah Yeo to break open the game at the back end. That charge into the line, take a couple of guys with him, and an offload for Leota to score the match winner. Both Dragon centres had a very good game. I thought, Lomax and Sully both had very good games in this one. Jack DeBellin and Burns were good. They crawled them a lot when DeBellin got a HIA and didn't come back. Sewer and Little were probably their best 2 forwards. And as you mentioned, Little probably spent too much time off the field and should have been on there for longer. But
well, I was shocked, only because he eventually came back on, was why I was a bit confused. And also because they had him in multi. So only cost me
Ben Hunt and Ravalawa were their best, obviously. Leota and Fish... Martin did a job without impressing.
Hunt's kicking game is probably going to be underrated in every other review, but this one because I'm mentioning it. But he found Edwards out, who's been the best fullback in the comp.
On 3 or 4 different occasions, yeah.
Well, 2 tries off kicks, and found him out another couple of times. So he was outstanding, Ben Hunt.
A lot of grubbers back in against the grain, away from Edwards, across the post. And
for Mr. Always There, and all we've heard about from Penrith fans is he should be playing one for New South Wales. Well, he didn't particularly... you can't blame him because you're allowed to get fooled by one of the best players in the game, but wasn't particularly covering himself in a state of origin glory in this game.
For all the kicks I've given Kenny during the year, I thought he's very good in this game.
And they've obviously backed him because Sonny Luke dropped out. They've obviously backed him that he's going to be the bloke who's going to make 50 tackles and get through it. So
didn't set the world on fire, but he was very good. So was Sorensen. As I mentioned, Cogger did a job, did more than he needed to at different times. Filled in very well there. Targo, Taruva and Toto were their best. Like the best outside backs. Targo actually came back really well, considering how his injury. Taruva's just always there. He doesn't, he pretty much sticks to his wing, but whenever he's needed, he does what he needs to do. And Isaiah Yeo, I thought for mine was the guy who took this game and ended up winning it for Penrith. So.
How big an out is Nathan Cleary for the next 6 weeks.
Massive.
They're going to hit the Roosters this week, which could be that game. Could be that. What even is that game which we're about to preview?
Could be 40-0 either way. It could be fucking who knows?
They're going to cop the Cowboys, the Knights, the Storm, the Dolphins, and the Bull. They've got a great draw. Fucking Penrith. Jeez, they can get some kissed on the ass sometimes.
You know what you're going to get out of Cogger, but you're not going to get the flashes of brilliance that get provided by Cleary when they're absolutely needed. So those really close games may just get edged out in a few of those really close games going through the next 6 to 8 weeks.
And Dragons just going to be who they are, aren't they? They might knock a couple
They're going
off.
to
They're
struggle
going to get bossed.
not
They're
to
going
finish
to
last. Yeah.
Who do they beat?
Exactly. In a comp that's that close, they could possibly, they'll have their day where they will beat someone, and you'll go, "Holy fuck! Well, how did that happen?" But I don't think it's going to happen often enough.
Dragons fans should just celebrate.
Pretty much.
Essentially, where Tigers were this time last year when all the same shit went down. It's just going to be what it's going to be. 3 points to Yo, 2 points to Bizza. And when you go Hunt,
I had 2 for Ravalawa. I thought the way he finished those 2 tries, not many other winger would have scored those 2 tries.
These days, Bun. Look at you. I remember when he used to be cool.
He runs like a front rower though.
You're allowed to, right? And a point for Ravalawa.
To'o, yeah.
And To'o, yes. No, To'o 2 and 1 to Ravalawa. Ben Hunt's extremely unlucky to miss out there.
Absolutely.
Let's take this ship home. We're going to give do you have a pop plan of the week?
I didn't do my research, mate.
And that's fine, because I'm going to give an honorary pop plan. And it's not particularly fair, guys, one, but Jerome Luai should have stepped up in that situation. For any other team, a State of Origin 5-8 wins them that game and wins them comfortably. But I'm going to give pop plan of the week to Aaron Shoup and Jojo Fafita, who just stood calmly by as Cody Walker. They just relaxed and copped it as Cody Walker and Tass and Johnson had their way. So not so much a pop plan as a starfish this week, because that's what happened. So that's them. Have you got one for us?
Mine was Moylan, mate. Like, I know statistically it doesn't say that he would be beaten by a pot plant, but for me, there was a space of about 10 minutes in this game where he looked like he was actively trying to give the opposition an advantage. And his defence is, deplorable at times. His kicking game was horrible for the entirety of the night. And, I just think if with the different 5-8 out there, the game probably ends up 2018 or, close enough to being 1. So,
yeah, he was, when we were messaging Saturday night, he was odds on to be a pop plant this week. You got a slap of the week. I'm going to slap Jared Sutton at Adam G because I can, that's all.
Jared Sutton.
And we've made a rule of not doing that, but fuck him.
But fuck him?
Yeah.
To be honest, I think probably, just the Titans. You already mentioned the guys out there. Their outside defence is deplorable, and if they don't fucking fix this game up, they're going to be consistently, like, how'd they lose? I think it's 7 games now, but they've led at half-time by double-digit figures as well, and then turn up, and they just can't fucking shut down the opposition's attack so many times, and they can see 20, 30 points in the space of half an hour and lose game after game. Like, the whole back 5 need a bit of a slap and fucking learn how to defend.
Yeah. AJ's back this week. We'll see if... when you talk about captains, maybe he's one that...
Oh, Brimson back this week. Yeah, right.
So he's a big in. Big in. You got a salute for us?
Sean Johnson. I mentioned Val Holmes as well. He's probably a bit unlucky to miss out, but I thought Sean Johnson did everything that you'd expect out of a top-grade a first-grade halfback in this game, and it's one of the best games I think I've seen him play for 5-6 years. So.
I'm going to salute a blanket. So I'm going to salute all the Origin players that backed up, and no one even shirked that task. So that was outstanding, but particularly James Tedesco. Teddy to come out and put the Roosters on his shoulders 3 days after what happened. Kudos to him, and Appy for doing it 48 hours later and being more than good.
Yep.
there are salutes this week. Check out rugbyleaguemerch.com. Check out our socials, Facebook and Instagram. You can find Footy and Frothies. We also have a Twitter, but I've deleted the app this week. I've had enough
Okay.
fucking middle-class Americans being angry at each other. It's just a fucking cesspool there. So find us on the other two. What a disgrace. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave us some comments below. Let us know what you think.
Absolutely, get involved. Right?
Yeah, tell us
so
some
many
shit.
times.
We'll,
Yell at us.
We're
Tell
on the
us
way
you
to
love us,
getting
whatever.
some guests on board in the next month, hopefully. So looking forward to all of that. So you have to listen to our little echo chamber we live in. But it's a pleasure as always, David. I'm going to make you stick around because I reckon we're going to get straight in this preview and do it in 25 minutes.
Right. Okay.
No?
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's what I like. Now got to tell her we're in. See you, everyone.